topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Camping Show. I'm C.W. Getz. It is Wednesday, April 6, 2022, and tonight's broadcast is coming to you live from Sunset, Louisiana. We have got a beautiful 84-degree, calm, sunny day here in Sunset, Louisiana, and I have to tell you, Illinois, I know is a little bit cooler than this, so it's great. I had to break out the shorts and flops down here, so I'm glad I packed those, but it's having a great time down here, by the way. And by the way, my guest tonight took me flying, and I learned something about zero G's, and we made a pen, an ink pen, float in the air with sudden drop. And if you check out my, I think it's my Instagram page, maybe it's my Facebook page, you'll see that. It's kind of entertaining. So, well, tonight's episode is brought to you by Campground Views, making camping easier, by Rudder Paddle Sports, providing time on the water, by Novacraft Canoe, connecting with nature since 1970, and by Little Bug Enterprises, rugged simplicity in outdoor gear. Tonight's episode is Evelyn Mae in the USA with my special guest, Ellen Falterman. 26-year-old flight instructor, traveler, and adventurer, Ellen Falterman was raised in rural East Texas. Ellen's father, who was an ex-Air Force pilot, taught her how to fly airplanes, and Ellen eventually decided to become a professional flight instructor. She's now been training people to become pilots of small aircraft since 2015. Passionate for adventure, Ellen has paddled, cycled, hitchhiked, and rowed over 10,000 miles collectively, which has accumulated a total of 18 months period of time. In 2014, Ellen went on a paddling trip in the Amazon basin with her brother Patrick, which lasted 3 months for a distance of 400 miles. In 2016, she did a 5,000-mile tandem bicycle trip from England to Greece, which took 4 months to complete. In 2017, Ellen paddled a solo kayak down the Missouri River in 100 days at a distance of 2,300 miles. In 2019, Ellen began a paddling trip down the Mississippi River. The first leg of the trip began at Lake Itasca, Minnesota, and went to St. Louis, Missouri. The trip was 1,600 miles long and took 2.5 months to complete. In July of 2020, Ellen completed the entire Mississippi River, continuing from St. Louis to the Gulf of Mexico. From there, Ellen continued to row another 550 miles to visit her childhood hometown in Tarkington, Texas, paddling a total of 2,500 miles and taking 4.5 months to complete. Ellen's next expedition is planned for December 2022. The trip will consist of approximately 40,000 miles. That's 40,000 miles of rowing around the world in a rowboat designed for ocean travel, which is estimated to take approximately 7 years to complete. Well, and with that, welcome to the show, Ellen.
Hello.
You know, I just noticed I am sweating a little. It's 84. What did I say? 84 degrees. It's
well, I have the doors open, so I don't have the AC on. I got to acclimate.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. Well, Ellen, since you were on the show here last September, I want to ask you what type of things have taken place in preparation for this epic journey of yours that's going to begin in December. And as I understand it, there were some licensing and permits or certifications like that involved. Is that right?
My computer.
Oh, did we lose Ellen?
I'm back.
Okay, there you go.
Sorry, my computer does that. I forgot. It does that every couple hours.
Okay, that's all good.
Okay, sorry.
Did you catch
Since I was on the show last?
Yeah.
Okay, so last time I was on the show, I was imminently about to leave for a trip to the UK to do some training. I did right after that interview. I went and I took a week-long sea school course, and I got my offshore marine radio license. We did ocean survival. We deployed life rafts. We did navigation, seamanship, and I got my RWA certification for sea school course. So I had that, which is I'm legally required. If you want to fly out international passage plan, you need to legally have the training. So I did that, and then I also took my boat out for a 10-day sea trial expedition. So the boat and I just by ourselves went out in the North Sea. So where the boat was built is on the eastern coast of England, and so I just took the boat out in the North Sea there and rowed her around, and we anchored offshore and did all the things and did a bit of a sea trial run, and I kind of told the boat builders what I wanted done on the boat after I took her out for sea trials, which was good because I really needed to row the boat before I had her shipped home.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I did that. I also rowed in a 12-man ocean rowboat. Rannoch makes this is the only 12-man ocean rowboat in the whole world. Her name's Roxy. And I rowed in her with 11 other people up in Scotland for like 5 or 6 days. So I did that first. And then I did my sea school course, and then I went and rowed my boat. So I was knowledgeable at that point to an extent about ocean rowing when I took my boat by myself 10 miles offshore.
Yeah.
So I did all those things. I was in England for a little over a month, like 5 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And because this was during COVID, so I booked my airplane tickets when I thought I had a 2-week quarantine, and the quarantine got lifted. So I had 2 random weeks in the UK to just hitchhike about, which I did.
Yeah.
So it was a really good trip, really therapeutic, and I learned a lot as well. So I came back from that trip and I just worked logistically with getting the boat shipped home. So of course I had to get like an import agent and deal with shipping a boat on a 40-foot container on a container ship across the Atlantic. And the boat just arrived a week ago.
Wow.
In Charleston, South Carolina. I took a road trip to go pick her up from the docks and brought her back home on a trailer. She arrived on a trailer and off the container ship, and now I have her.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You're pretty excited about it, I can tell.
I'm very excited. I mean, this to get the boat, hands-on boat here in the physical world in the United States has been a thing that's 2 years in the making.
Yeah.
You know, this is a 2-year accumulation of events. So it's quite exciting.
Well, I'll tell you what, during this episode, we're going to have you very shortly here give us a tour of this amazing vessel, this ocean rowboat. But first, I'm going to ask you, you've named the boat Evelyn Mae. What's that about? Where'd you get that?
So in 2019, when I first started planning this expedition, my grandmother was dying at the time of stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And so, again, just at the same time I was planning this trip, so I was thinking, I knew that I was going to buy a boat. And so, of course, I'm thinking about what am I going to name this boat? And my grandmother was dying, and I got the opportunity to ask her before she died if I could name the boat after her, and she said she'd be honored. So I decided I wanted a name that was her name, but not necessarily a name that she went by. She didn't go by Evelyn Mae, but Mae was her middle name. I just think Evelyn Mae is a really great boat name. Because you have to understand, I mean, when you name a boat, that's what you're going to get hailed on the radio as, you know. So I don't necessarily want to get hailed on the radio by my grandmother's name, just Evelyn. Evelyn Mae just seems like a good boat name. So I have a lot of good juju with me at sea. My grandmother watching for sure, and her namesake.
That's very cool. That's very cool. All right. Well, when we come back, we'll have Ellen give us a tour of Evelyn Mae. Let me say that 5 times fast. Evelyn Mae. And so don't go away. We'll be right back with more of the Camping Show on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV after these messages.
It is time to go camping. Introducing Campground View's virtual tours. You can tour the campground, see the sites, see if they are available, and click to book your perfect spot. Hit the open road and explore the amazing places found in nature. We make it easy to discover, find, and book your site so that you can go have the fun and freedom you seek. Campground View's virtual tours make it easy and simple for you to see where you are going.
A few years ago, someone asked Rutabaga's owner, Darren Bush, "Hey, how long have you guys been selling boats?" Darren replied, "We don't sell boats. We sell time on the water." Of course, that comes in all types. We help people paddle more safely with Rutabaga outdoor programs. We rent canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards. We sell and install racks to get you from home to adventure. Rutabaga's got everything you need to get you out on the water, like paddles, life jackets, dry bags, and clothing. Rutabaga Paddle Sports, on the web at rutabaga.com. Mention you saw this ad on the camping show.
There's nothing like being out there. For over 50 years, we've been connecting people with nature by building classic Canadian canoe designs using the best materials available. We built a reputation on durable, dependable canoes that allow you to focus on what's important, whether that's unplugging in remote wilderness, spending quality time with your favorite people, or nailing the perfect line. Visit novacraft.com to find the perfect canoe for you and locate your nearest authorized dealer.
Embrace simple pleasures, nature's music, the vision and aroma of your victuals simmering over a wood fire. We invite you to kindle your flame in a Littlebug stove. Visit us at littlebug.com. See why Littlebug is the top-rated stick stove and save 15% with discount code CAMPING15.
Duluth Pack is handcrafted for every lifestyle, making memories since 1882. In store at 365 Canal Park Drive or online at duluthpack.com.
I love camping, but hate setting up and packing. Sound familiar? With the Sandsbug pop-up tent, you simply toss it in the air, bug-free in 1 second. Cliff Jacobson, America's most published wilderness expert, has this to say. At well under $100, these tents are a bargain. They are not toys. With a well-designed tarp, they should withstand a long, heavy rain. I'm impressed by the full coverage fly. It stakes right into the ground. No short cap fly for the wind to get under. In all, I think you have an excellent product here, even though it's one designed for casual camping. Namely, the kind of camping most people and scouts do. The Sandsbug has been used by the U.S. and Canadian military, disaster response volunteers in Haiti, ecologists in Madagascar, and doctors in the Amazon. Sandsbug, the quickest tent you've ever pitched. Find us on sandsbug.com.
And we're back with our guest, Ellen Falterman, here on the Camping Show. We are in Ellen's garage right now, and we're going to have her give us a quick tour of this boat. So, Ellen, what show us about here, the Evelyn Mae.
Welcome aboard the Evelyn Mae. So this is the deck where I will spend most of my time rowing, at least. This is the rowing seat. It's a sliding seat rowing rig with rollerblade wheels. So there's that. Oops. So I've got my oar here. Of course, I'll have two oars. And this is where I will spend most of my days rowing here on the rowing deck.
Now, Ellen, what are these? What are these straps for? What is
These
that?
are just handrails. I mean, you can imagine if these weren't here, the ocean. I mean, the ocean is right here. You know, so you want to have something to grab onto, especially when it's really rocky.
Oh, sure.
Right. This is my 2-point tether harness. So I'll have a belt, and this connects. You want to have 2 points always connected to the boat. Like if you want to switch railings, then you never want to not be connected to the boat, right? So if you're switching, you're always connected with at least 1 point, just like a climber would. There are only 2 rules aboard this boat, and one of them is that you always tethered in, especially as a solo rower, because if you get separated from the boat, I mean, it's game over. So you're always tethered to the boat, and you always keep the doors closed. Those are the only 2 rules on this boat.
We got a door at either end here. Cabins.
Right, so there's 2 cabins. The boat is 22 feet long, and one cabin is for sleeping, and one cabin is mostly for storage. We'll show you the aft. We'll show you, this is the fore cabin, so this is the front of the boat. We'll show you the fore cabin later here, but we'll take a tour on deck. I've got I've got 8 lockers on deck, 2 in the middle, and then 3 on each side. They're mostly empty. The only locker that has anything in it right now is this locker, which has my 2 deep seal marine batteries in here. And that'll be the only thing that's in this locker. And then all the other lockers are really just for storage. So we got that. So let's move aft, and then we'll come back to the fore cabin. So this is the main cabin back here. We'll talk about that. So the main cabin here, I've got all my, this is the external display on my instrument panel. So I have an internal GPS chart plotter, but I can't obviously see it from the rowing station. So this is how I'll be able to read my course over ground, speed over ground, magnetic heading, just my autopilot. This will all be so I can see my instrumentation from the rowing station. And then I also have my magnetic whiskey compass right there. So yeah, there's that. Let's hop in the cabin. So as I come into the cabin, I'm gonna take my little compass with me. It's got a home. It's got a little home right here. Oops. There we go.
There we go.
You're good?
Okay, we're back.
All right. Here's turn on my chart plotter. There's VHF. So yeah, so I have 2 deep cell marine batteries and then 2 associated solar panels, and they're independent of the other. So I can dictate which battery I want to pull from. I can pull from 1 or 2, or from both at the same time. So here's all my instrumentation up here. I just turned on the chart plotter. The VHF radio is coming up, so I can make my radio calls and such. Here's the I don't know if you can see the chart plotter from where you are, CW, but there's the chart plotter here showing us here in Louisiana. Just kind of the command central center here, and there's that. I don't know what else. These are battery monitors down here, so I don't get overflow charge. So if I'm getting too much of a charge, these will prevent the batteries from getting too charged. Monitors. I've got a locker back here. This plugs into the satellite phone up on top. Back here is a rudder locker. So the rudder arm needs quite a lot of room to swing around, right? That's why this locker is so big. So the rudder is I can grab the camera if you'd like. You got it?
I think so.
Okay. So yeah, the rudder swings around back here. Actually, let me grab it. So down there is where the rudder goes in. It comes up through that hole, and then it attaches. With that nut there, and then this here is the auto helm. So I have an autopilot and auto helm system that connects to these rudders. So great. Oh, while we're in here, I have to show you something that will be relevant later on in the tour. So later on in the tour, this little guy right here is going to be important. So remember him. Oh, and just by the way, I get this question a lot. Where do you put your feet? Well, my feet goes this cabin goes to where I have room here, so I have plenty of room to lay out and put my little feet seats. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
While
So
we're on tap,
yes.
while we're on tap, we can see the solar panel that charges these batteries.
Right, and these antennas, of course, go up. I just have them down here for the garage situation, and this is my nav light. It goes in here. I just had this down because I brought it in the garage. It's GPS, AIS, nav light, sat phone, VHF radio antennas. Let me turn my chart plotter off real quick. Battery. Yeah, so we already did the deck. These lockers here are massive. I can literally fit inside of them. Which I suppose I don't need to do. Also down in here, so most of these lockers are empty, are obviously the one that has the batteries in it. This locker, however, has two pieces of important equipment. We have, this is a depth finder, a transducer, and a temperature gauge reader. So there's a hole in the bottom of the boat so I can read the depth and temperature of the water. And then over here is the intake valve for the water desalination unit, and that's the motor for it. So this locker does have some equipment in it, but most of the other ones are empty. So here's my anchor. I like it, but it's a damn fourth anchor. Really excited about it. So let's go into the fore cabin. Oh yeah, down here. So this is the dagger board. I've also heard it called the freeboard before. I'm not really sure what to call it, but basically you can think of it like a keel that's removable. So it slides in this hole here. It helps keep the nose of the from tracking too much.
So that comes out in the bottom of the boat.
Yeah, so I can pull it out. I can row with it in. I can row with it out depending on how much I'm fighting now. So yeah. That back in the stepper. And here's this is my little station I call my porch. Because when I'm on anchor, either parent anchor or ground anchor, the wind and the waves are going to be coming from this way since this is the bow. So right here in my little porch area, I'm perfectly sheltered from the wind and the waves, and I can sit here and I say, hey man, this is a great place to do some cooking. So here is my stove gimbal that will move with the waves, and I can cook here.
And that will be like a jet boil.
Yeah, it's a jet boil. The propane goes down here, and the pot's here, and it clips in these clips. So this is my cooking station, my front porch, my hangout spot. I can hang out here out of the wind and the waves in my porch. So the fore cabin is not for sleeping. Let's go here. Come with me. So there's a wall right here. So you can't really like lay down in this cabin. So this is really just for storage. I had these bungees installed so I can store things in Tupperware containers down here and keep the weight low. In a boat like this, it's all about the ballast. You want to have the ballast loaded properly so that when the boat capsizes, it self-rights. So these bungees are to keep the ballast, keep the weight low. But really the main feature of this cabin is going to be this NASA looking piece of equipment here. I'm very, very pleased with it. This is the water purification, water desalination unit. I just come here in the fore cabin sometimes, hang out with it because it's kind of. But yeah, so the intake valves in that locker I showed you, the seawater comes through here, and it goes to this part first, and where it does three things. It goes through this, and this. Wastewater goes out here through the side of the boat back into the ocean, and then the good water comes out here, and then it goes out into the deck here. This is where the fresh water comes out, the potable water comes out of here. So that is fore cabin. The main feature. The boat and this unit are probably one of the two most important pieces of equipment. You can't go long without water. I do have a speaker system on board the boat.
The most important part of the boat.
I do have an entire there's a stereo in the aft cabin.
Right.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work. So I'll have to get some sort of other speaker. Yeah. Come on out. I believe that's most of the things. Yeah, we need to do that. So here's some external features of the boat. I've pointed out several holes. There's a hole for the rudder. There's a hole for the desalination intake. There's one's for the transducer. There's also, I don't know if you can see that in the footage. Probably not. There's also a hole here in the side of the boat. And when we were doing a tour of the aft cabin, I said, remember this hole? we'll talk about this hole later. So these boats are built to be self-righting. So when they capsize, they self-right within seconds. And the only reason they wouldn't self-right is if water gets in either of these cabins. So think of these cabins like giant air bubbles, right? When the boat capsizes, now the air is on the bottom. We all know air wants to rise above water, so it automatically comes back. But if either of these cabins fill with water, then the boat might not self-right. So we need, if there's water in the cabin, we need a way to get water out and air in to get the boat self-right. So that's what this hole is for. So let's say you've capsized. You left the door open so that this cabin is flooded entirely. You're sitting on the bottom of your boat going on a bit of a situation. So what you do is you swim underneath your boat and you close the door and you open this vent. And then then you swim away, and on the way out you grab this stick. Grab your stick. You grab your stick on the way out, and now you're swimming next to your boat, right? And you open this and you start pumping, and the water comes. So now the boat's capsized, so the lowest point in the cabin is now on the top where that vent was that I showed you. So now we're getting water out. The water goes down here and just out back into the sea, and then air is coming in through the vent as you're pumping. So you get enough water out and air in that hopefully you can get your boat floating again, or at least upright. So that's emergency procedures on the boat. What else? The rudder. So the rudder's back here. I have actually two rudders. I don't use them simultaneously. I have two rudders for two different things. So we have, I'll show you this one first. This is the normal rudder. I call it the open ocean rudder. This is all the ocean rowboats that you see are going to have a rudder like this. It's a fixed rudder. In right now because we're not in the water, but this goes up in here and it's a fixed rudder, connects to the autopilot that you saw in that rudder locker that I showed y'all. Again, just that's the normal open ocean rudder, fixed. And then I had custom designed. I had Ranock build me this rudder, which I don't know any other ocean rowboat that has a rudder like this. I call it my coastal rudder, and it's designed to come up on a spring. Right, so when I run aground, if I'm rowing by and I'm like, hey, I want to go on that beach over there and dock on that beach, then I can have this rudder on, then I can just dock and it'll come up and it won't hurt the rudder, won't hurt the boat.
And that's controlled by the ropes that go all the way up to your row station.
So we've got these two ropes.
Right.
If we go back up to the rowing station, right. So these ropes here, I can control the rudder from the rowing station, and then I can also pull the rudder up manually. Right here, I can pull the rudder up manually with this rope. So again, I had that custom designed because Ranock, the boat builders, know what I'm up to, and they said you're going to be doing a lot of coastline, so we contrived that coastal rudder that you see there.
And how long is your boat overall? Because I know there were questions about that.
Right. 22 feet long.
22 feet long. And is there a height that you know on it?
The draft is that orange line you see there.
Okay.
Plus the rudder and the freeboard. It's about 4 feet to be safe. It's really more like 3.5 feet on the draft. So
it's very cool.
Can't think of anything else I wanted to show you. We'll turn my electrical system off.
Yeah. I'm just going to take a quick one around the boat. Everybody can see how long this thing really looks. And of course, the trailer that hauls. This is a custom trailer that was built in England,
It's a
correct?
foreign trailer.
Yeah.
I had a lot of things added to this boat. Like this was added, the gimbal was added, the coastal rudder. So after I did sea trials in the boat in England, I said, hey man, I want these things added to the boat. I had this entire door replaced. It was a terrible door before that. So this door is entirely new. I had a lot of things added to the boat to make it extra safe, depth finder. Yeah, so.
And those things on the side, just to let people know, these hold the oars.
Right, if you go around to the other side where the
which we
oar
can
is
do.
attached, you can see. right? So when I'm rowing, right, I've got my oar, and then when I'm done, you know, I want to dock and take a break or whatever, then I had these handles put on. So I had these added. So these are actually reinforced anchor pull-up points. I was pulling up anchor offshore in England, and this chain was and I was like, oh, my poor new boat, you know, destroying it.
Sure.
So I was like, hey man, can you add some like protection for that anchor chain so I'm just not feeling bad about my boat?
We've got some spare oars over here. You keep. You're going to take 2 sets with you. Is that right?
Yeah. So I'll have 3 sets total.
3 sets.
So 6 oars. You'll notice these oars are different. So I have 2 kinds of oars. They're both 10.5 feet long. But you'll notice the blades over here. I have 1 pair of black bladed oars and 2 pairs of white bladed oars. The white blades are slightly smaller. So if I want a little bit more power, but a harder pull, then I'll use the black blades. If I want to pull easier but have a little less power, I'll use the white blades. What else?
We got a bucket. What is that bucket for?
If you ever do a tour of an ocean rowboat and you see a bucket, just stay away from that bucket.
What goes in the
say
bucket?
no more.
That's great. That's great. All right. Well, that's great, Ellen. Thank you so much for this tour. It's a very interesting vessel, and I've never seen one of these before.
I certainly haven't either. I call it a spaceship. It looks like, seriously, it feels like a spaceship. And you know, and honestly, doing the math, if you're in the middle of the Pacific, you're actually farther away from the landmass than you would be if you were in space.
Oh wow!
Fun fact.
Interesting.
So
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I know that since we've been here, we were hanging out here this afternoon. We've had several people stop by and ask for a little tour of the boat. So
yeah, I don't blame them. I would ask for the same thing.
It's obviously a very interesting vessel. So very good. All right. Well, we're going to take a break again. Don't go away. We'll be back with more of the Camping Show on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV after these messages.
It is time to go camping. Introducing Campground View's virtual tours. You can tour the campground, see the sights, see if they are available, and click to book your perfect spot. Hit the open road and explore the amazing places found in nature. We make it easy to discover, find, and book your site so that you can go have the fun and freedom you seek. Campground View's virtual tours make it easy and simple for you to see where you are going.
A few years ago, someone asked Rutabaga's owner, Darren Bush, "Hey, how long have you guys been selling boats?" Darren replied, "We don't sell boats. We sell time on the water." Of course, that comes in all types. We help people paddle more safely with Rutabaga outdoor programs. We rent canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards. We sell and install racks to get you from home to adventure. Rudabaga's got everything you need to get you out on the water, like paddles, life jackets, dry bags, and clothing. Rutabaga Paddle Sports, on the web at rutabaga.com. Mention you saw this ad on The Camping Show.
There's nothing like being out there. For over 50 years, we've been connecting people with nature by building classic Canadian canoe designs using the best materials available. We built a reputation on durable, dependable canoes that allow you to focus on what's important, whether that's unplugging in remote wilderness, spending quality time with your favorite people, or nailing the perfect line. Visit novacraft.com to find the perfect canoe for you and locate your nearest authorized dealer.
Embrace simple pleasures, nature's music, the vision and aroma of your victuals simmering over a wood fire. We invite you to kindle your flame in a Littlebug stove. Visit us at littlebug.com. See why Littlebug is the top-rated stick stove and save 15% with discount code CAMPING15.
And we're back with our guest, Ellen Falterman, here on the Camping Show. You know, I'm sure, Ellen, that many people are wondering how you're going to get your food and supplies during this journey. Can you tell us how that's going to work?
Mostly just photosynthesis. Oh, just kidding.
Well,
Ocean rowers usually freeze-dried food, like astronaut food. So dehydrated food is different. Freeze-dried food goes through a chemical process that makes it non-perishable, and all you do is add water. It doesn't even have to be hot water. So if your stove doesn't work anymore, you can still eat your freeze-dried food. And it depends on where I am in the trip. If I'm making a large open ocean crossing, I'll be eating a lot of dehydrated freeze-dried food. But if I'm following a coastline, I have access to more fresher foods. But I can hold, I estimate I can hold up to 10 to 12 months worth of food on that boat.
That's amazing.
So
yeah. Now that gets stored in those storage compartments that you showed us that are on deck.
Right. Those lockers on deck are massive. And the fore cabin is entirely for storage as well. So I have a ton of storage on that boat.
Yeah. So you won't be getting any supplies dropped from an airplane like we saw. I think that was your father.
Yeah, I've done that before. Before.
Oh, that was interesting. Well, lastly, what do you do? And I know many people are wondering this as well. What will you be doing when you're not rowing to keep yourself, from becoming bored, maybe lonely, maybe even scared at times, from maybe going stir crazy? What do you do?
Well, the way I see it is you are going to become lonely and bored and scared and stir crazy no matter what you do in life. That's just part of it. And so, I mean, it's a study in self-isolation, interested to see what happens to someone when they're isolated for that long at sea, especially. I have my audiobooks is something advice I've gotten from several ocean rowers, music. But, at the end of the day, there's nothing you can do that's going to prevent you from ever being lonely or scared or bored. You just going to have to deal with the emotions just like you would doing anything.
Yeah.
But I am interested to see what my writing looks like, what my art looks like, how I change as a person in the way I move and the way I walk and talk. I'm sure I'll be incredibly changed by a journey at sea.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, we are planning, I'll just mention this before we go, we are planning on being in Key West for your send-off or launch. What do you refer to that as? Actually, a launch?
I don't know. I'm having a launch party early September from Texas, which will be like the official start of my expedition from Galveston Bay. So I grew up in East Texas. And actually what I'm doing, which I don't know how this is going to work in the end, but I know I want this trip to actually be a river trip, right? Because I've spent 5,000 miles paddling and rowing rivers. So I feel really connected to rivers, and I want this to be a river trip. So it's 40,000 miles of ocean. But if it starts and ends on a river, then it's really a river trip.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start on the river in Edna, my canoe, and row down, and then meet Evelyn Mae, the ocean rowboat, and continue from there. The first leg will be to Florida, and then from there I'll have to find a way to get to Panama, and then across the Pacific and Australia, Western.
Florida. Okay, and Florida is where we're planning on meeting up with you for that.
Right, that'll be when I leave the country. So I'll it's going to take me about 3 months to row from Texas to Florida, easterly on the ICW. So I'll still be in my own country, and I can still, communicate. So.
Yep. And so we're going to be there for that launch. I did want to ask you real quickly, how long do you estimate it will be? You will have time to yourself where you won't really have any, even radio contact. You won't be any need for it. That you'll actually hear another human voice. I mean, what might that stretch look like? How long?
I mean, I guess depending on the satellites, really, it could be, days, weeks. I will have a satellite phone, so I can make satellite phone calls. Sometimes if the satellites aren't quite in the right spot, it doesn't go through. But most of the time, I should be able to call people on a satellite phone and hear a human voice.
Yeah.
And at least be able to receive text messages, especially my weather router. I'm going to need to receive updates at least every 48 hours about the weather. So I'll be receiving that sort of communication on the regularly. But as far as like, hi, mom and dad sorts of calls, I mean, the satellite phone is really expensive per minute. So anyone can call, if a radio show or someone wants to call in, they can call in, but they got to pay for my satellite phone minutes.
Right.
But
That's great.
I mean, it's 2022. I mean, we have modern technology. I mean, it wasn't very long ago that we didn't have any of this. I mean, we were navigating by sextant in the 80s,
Yeah.
This technology that we have at sea to our disposal is just incredible. We're not nearly as isolated as the ancient mariner,
Absolutely, yeah. And speaking of your parents, you told me earlier before the show, your parents are kind of planning on meeting up with you at certain places, maybe planning their vacations around your trip. Is
I
that
mean,
right?
they're at the age where they're not so old that they can't travel, but they're old enough that they can travel.
Right.
So they're just, they travel all over the place. So they're just going to plan all their vacations around me. Like, oh, where are we going to go? Well, Ellen's in Tahiti. Let's go to Tahiti and visit her.
That's great. That's
so they're
great.
incredibly supportive. I'm very, very blessed to have such a supportive family and parents and brother.
Ellen, what kind of feedback have you received from people about this trip? Do you get any people, telling you or giving you any comments or any like positive, reassurance going, hey, I think it's going to be great. You're going to do excellent out there. And we're going to read about you. We're going to see you on talk shows and things like that. What do you get?
I mean, I get that. And, there's a part of me that's like, I don't need that sort of reinforcement. Like, I'm going to do whatever I want no matter what. But then when I do receive that sort of reinforcement, it does make me be like, oh, well, like, thanks for believing in me, because it's such a massive thing to just to have come out of your mouth to say, oh, I'm going to row around the world. Like, that's just such an unfathomably large thing to say that you want to do, let alone to like even get a boat and be as serious about it as I am. To receive that feedback and just get people to be like, you're on it. You're smart. You've got this. And I think you're going to do great. I mean, on the other side of the coin, I do get hate mail,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
I mean, sometimes I get people who are just like, I just need to tell this 26-year-old woman not to live her dreams. That'll make me feel better about myself.
Wow.
But no matter what you do in life, you're going to get people who support you and you're going to get people who don't like what you do. It doesn't matter what you do. So do what you want, because there's going to be a wide range of people who have an opinion about what you're doing. And the most important opinion about what you're doing is yours.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And, I have to say, coming down here to Louisiana and we spent a little time in your airplane. And by the way, people, this young lady is an amazing pilot. And I mean, we did stuff I really wasn't even sure I've ever heard about before, let alone seen. It's like, very, very good. It started to storm when we were flying around. It started to storm, and she's like, you know what? It's time to go back now. And we came in, and it was starting to get where I couldn't see very clearly out of the windshield. And I said, let's turn the wipers on. There are no wipers here, but you're a pro. You're a total pro and a champ all the way. And very impressed with how you navigate an airplane. And if you do anything close to that in this boat, I mean, it's just going to be, it's going to be a piece of cake.
Well, I tell my students, if you do anything long enough, you'll know how, and it's the same way with anything. I might not know a lot about being on the ocean, but I didn't know a lot about flying airplanes 10 years ago. And now I know if you anything's easy if you know how. You just got to know how.
Well, and as I was going to say too, is after getting to know you here, we went out to dinner here a couple nights, and getting to know you and talk with you. Basically, I've been interviewing for you for the last couple of days off the air. But you are, aside from being an amazing lady, you're a very humble lady, and really respect that about you. So, everybody that's that talented gets to be a little bit arrogant and cocky, and that's beyond confidence. You're a confident lady, but you're also very
I think
down to earth.
You have to be really careful doing an expedition of this magnitude to not get caught up in that, because I mean, over the last 2 years since I've been playing this, like the attention has started to grow, and I know the potential for this expedition to really snowball into something huge is there, and you have to just remember where you came from, and remember that my first expedition, man, we didn't have dry bags. We just had trash bags. Like, you got to remember where you came from. And, people who are just now tuning in sort of things like, wow, Ellen's got this really fancy rowboat. It's like, well, you didn't see me 7 years ago when I was going down the river with trash bags. you know. So you start somewhere, and no matter where you go, you got to remember where you started.
Yeah. And those of us who did follow you, and I was one of those, I remember seeing that, and I said, you know, and we had that talk before the show as well. I said, I've seen you using some things that were not expensive and marketable things, you know, things that were on the market. You use simple things, very, very low, you know, low keyed sort of things. And
Well, I don't think you can say that about me now.
No, you know, you made it work, and you made it work wonderfully. You didn't need all the fancy gear. You just had the skills, and you're very innovative. You're creative. You know how to make something out of nothing, as we said. So that's impressive. And watching you come this way, it's been a very interesting journey for you, I know, and a very interesting watch for the
Hey,
rest of
you
us.
know, what a long, strange trip it's been, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ellen, where can our audience go to follow you on social media, and also, and I'm going to repeat this, also to donate toward this amazing epic venture of yours, because it is a nonprofit venture. Am I correct?
Right. So yeah, this expedition is registered as a 501c3 nonprofit. So people can donate and write the donations off on their taxes. If corporations and businesses are interested in becoming a sponsor, same thing. So you can go to, I noticed in the bottom, it said you had the name wrong. It's Ellen, not EMMEN. Ellen Magellan Expeditions, ELLEN MAGELLAN Expeditions. I had to look up how Ferdinand Magellan spelled his name because I didn't either. So don't be afraid if you have to look it up too.
There we go.
Ellen Magellan. So you can go there, Instagram, Facebook, same thing, Ellen Magellan Expeditions. You can go, there's merchandise, there's hats, mugs, stickers. You can buy boats. You can buy customizable stickers on my boat. There's lots of things, lots of different ways to support the expedition.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'd like to thank you, Ellen, here for being my guest on the camping show. It was absolutely a pleasure having you here this evening and spending some time with you here down in Louisiana. So just a wonderful time I've had so
it's
far.
MAGELLAN there on the bottom. AN.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Sorry to interrupt.
It's all good. Well, listen, I'd like to also thank our sponsors, Campground Views, Rutabaga Paddle Sports, Novacraft Canoe, and Little Bug Enterprises for bringing you tonight's show. Be sure to tune in for next week's episode, new award-winning multi-use cart and chair with my special guests, Jules Weldon and Stace Pierce. Until then, thank you for tuning into the Camping Show. This is CW Getz, reminding you, learn more, do more. See you next week.